breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings. Now, truth be told, we did this interview before we knew that Tariq Skubal was going to be on the move along with Freddie Peralta, so there's a little bit there that I had added up just a touch, but that said, we have some great insight there. We talk a lot about whether or not we are going to be getting some of these bats on the move as well, so we dive in there, what the Chicago White Sox should be doing, as they did trade for Luis Castillo, so that's big as well, but we're going to be diving in on the nooks and crannies there and what we might be seeing over the next 24 hours in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is by Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, large CM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, boy, did we have an interesting day of baseball on Sunday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Game number 1 without Tariq Skubal for the Tigers, which I still think that they should have gotten more for him. There are some people that disagree, but that's just me. Well, it went very well. 11-0. They just completely destroyed the Athletics. Kadir Montero, anything but Montero Bowl. 6 shutout innings. Tyler Holton along Drew Anderson. They combined for 2 shutout innings, and then Emmanuel De Jesus. He cleans up the 9th. Gage got jumped. 6 runs allowed over the course of 3 2/3 innings. You would have from there Elvis Alvarado in the building for 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Hogan Harris a scoreless inning. Hayden Younger a scoreless inning, and then you had Carlos Cortez, a position player, give up a solo home run to James Outman. He was outman for his 5th home run of the campaign, and Ben Bowden, he gave up 4 runs in an inning as well, so less than savory there. Max Scherzer actually solid for the Blue Jays. Problem is, the Blue Jays offense continues to be awful. 5-1, the Cardinals get the job done. Matthew Liberatore, 1 hit allowed in 6 shutout innings, and he had been terrible this year. Ryan Stanek from there, a shutout inning. George Soriano gives up a run in an inning, but Riley O'Brien, a scoreless inning. And for Scherzer, 5 punch-outs, 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Spencer Miles from there, 2 shutout innings. And then Louis Varland, who's been so good all season long, gives up 4 runs in the 9th inning. Oh, he gets a pair of outs. Mason Fleury had to get the final out now. 3 of those were unearned. You had a Luis Arias there, his first of the season, that really costed the team with a throwing error. But hey, the Cardinals, they do get the job done there, and the Atlanta Braves, they get the job done 4-2. They're able to take down the Washington Nationals. As for the Nats, Cade Cavalli, not a bad start here. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, given up in 6 innings. Taken deep by Mike Yastrzemski, 8th home run season. Matt Olson, home run number 31 of the campaign. Orlando Robalta, he gives up an unearned run in an inning. Max Kranick, he comes in for a scoreless inning. J.R. Ritchie gives up 2 runs over the course of 4 innings. From there, the Dodd-father, Dylan Dodd, Dylan Lee, Racio Iglesias, all ended scoreless inning, and DDA Fuentes, he was able to come in for 2 shutout innings as well. This game wrapped up in 6 innings, so if you took a full game total, you most likely got a refund here. But 8-0, the Philadelphia Phillies get the job done over the Baltimore Orioles. For the Phils, Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler, well, he wheeled and dealed for 2 shutout innings. From there, Kyle Backus a scoreless inning. Tim Mayza, 2 shutout innings. Orion Kerkering was supposed to come in for the 6th inning, and then they just decided to call the game. Kyle Bradish gave up 2 runs in 3 innings. He was cranked deep in this one by Mr. Brian De La Cruz, 2nd home run of the season, 2nd in, I believe, the last week. And then Bryce Harper, he goes deep. That was home run number 23 of the campaign, as you had Josh Walker give up that home run in his inning of work. Anthony Nunez, he gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning, and Albert Suarez, he gave up 3 runs in an inning as well. The Orioles looked like they were turning the corner with their bullpen. Not so much there. The Mets, they're definitely not turning the quarter. 2-0. They lose to the Miami Marlins here. Sandy Alcantara, great start, 6 shutout innings. Michael Peterson, Tyler Zuber, Pete Fairbanks, they all end a scoreless inning. And then for Robert Stock, I mean, this was not a bad start. 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings. Joe Mack does get his 11th home run season. From there, Devin Williams, he gives up a run in an inning, but Brooks Raley, Luke Weaver, Oscar Brisbane, they all end a scoreless inning, but absolutely nothing doing for the Mets at the plate. 0-12 with men in scoring position. They leave 10 men on base. The best team at home in all of baseball this year has been the Tampa Bay Rays with 41 wins, but one of those wins was not on Sunday. The Chicago White Sox, 9-1 winners. They trade for Luis Castillo, so let's go there. Anthony Kay, more than okay. 6 1/3 inning scoreless. The Rays did leave 10 men on base. From there, you had Grant Taylor give you 5 outs out of the bullpen. Squirrels did have a solo home run give it up to Ben Williamson, his third of the campaign by Duncan Davitt, who he gives that up in his inning of work, but Griffin Jax, he does get jaxed up, giving up 3 runs in 5 innings, only one of which was earned. It was his own fielding error that costed him, though, and Ender Benintendi, his 12th home run of the campaign. From there, you had Everson Piera get his 4th home run of the campaign. That comes off of the mix and match bullpen pieces, as the Rays just throw out there all their bad bullpen pieces. That one came off of Alexander Cook. Cook, he was not cooking in this one. 3 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings. And then Chris Roycroft, he gives up a run in a third of an inning as he was cranked deep in this one by one Mr. Miguel Vargas. 24th home run season. Those were some of Cook's inherited runners. Steven Matz, scoreless inning. Craig Kimbrell, he gave up 2 runs in his inning work. So big win for the White Sox. Nice win here for the Cleveland Guardians. They salvaged their series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. 5-0 the final. Gavin Williams, 5 2/3 innings. Scoreless, 10 punch-outs. He was great. Hunter Gaddison out of the bullpen squirrels. Craig Yoho nearly acquired from the Brewers. Scoreless inning. Matt Fessa, pair of outs of the bullpen squirrels. Cade Smith, 4 outs scoreless. And Merrill Kelly continues to have a rough season. 5 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, and he was taken deep in this one by one Mr. Patrick Bailey. 6th home run on the campaign. From there, Taylor Clark, Ryan Thompson, they combined for 3 shutout innings, but damage by then had definitely been done. The Cincinnati Reds did a lot of damage to Mitch Keller, 10-2. They take down the Pittsburgh Pirates. Keller goes 2 innings. He gives up 7 runs, all of which were earned, including a pair of bombs. Going deep in this one, you had Cabrian Hayes get his 4th home run on the campaign. Cousin Sal Stewart, that was home run number 24 of the campaign for him. From there, you had Noah Murdoch come in for a scoreless inning. Ron Bernardaccio, he gives up 2 runs in his inning of work. You did have 2 shutout innings from Yohan Ramirez, so nobody messed with him. Camilo Doval, in his debut for the Pirates, he gives up a home run as he was great deep by Tyler Stevenson, his 9th home run in the campaign, so he's picking up right where he left off over there in New York. And for Chase Burns, well, he made the Pittsburgh Pirates feel the burns as he was able to go for 6 innings. He gives up just 1 run along the way. Brock and Rolberg, a scoreless inning. TJ Antone, he gives up a run in his inning of work. And Zach McKembley, he was able to go for a scoreless inning of his own. For the New York Yankees, the offense continues to not be online, but they didn't need a lot of offense on this day. 2-1, they take down the Chicago Cubs. Colin Ray says hip hip hooray to a solid start. He does give up a home run to Jose Calderbray, his 11th home run season, but gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. From there, Ryan Rolson, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. Aaron Savali, 4 outs scoreless. And Garrett Cole, nice start here, 5 2/3 innings. He gives up 1 run. Brian Hedrick, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Paul Blackburn walks the plank to a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And then David Bednar does not poop the Bednar. He gets 4 outs to be able to get that save. Surprisingly, Brewers shut out by the LA Angels. 3-0, the Angels get the job done. Not often you see Jacob Mizorowski take a loss, and he wasn't bad. 10 punch-outs in 7 innings. He allows 2 runs. Was taken deep, though, by Wade Meckler. His 3rd home run on the campaign, DL turned it up Hall. He gives up a run in his inning work, but Walber Yarena, Yarena is all over the Brewers. 6 shutout innings. From there, Sam Bachman and out of the bullpen scoreless. Ryan Zephyrian got the final 5 outs of the game, and Luke Murphy, young gun, he was able to give this team a scoreless inning as well, being able to post up quite a few scoreless innings. The Colorado Rockies, they take it to the Kansas City Royals 8-1 the final. It's now a case where the Royals are 20-40 away from home this year. Seth Lugo gives up 5 runs in 5 innings. From there, you had Aaron Bummer, well, lived up to his name. He was a bummer. He gave up 3 runs in an inning, including a home run to Jake McCarthy. 11th home run season, Nate Pearson and Steven Cruz both give you a scoreless inning. And Kyle Freeland, who's been awful this year, a complete game, gives up a 1 run out there at Coors. That's how bad it is for the Colorado Rockies right now. Holy crud, that is bad. And this was not great for Kumar Rocker as he does get rocked by the Astros. 7-3, the Astros get the job done. Rocker gives up 10 hits in 5 1/3 innings. Now he only gives up 3 runs as the Astros, they left 12 men on base, but he was cranked deep by Jeremy Pena. His 13th home run in the campaign. Robbie Elstrom from there, pair of outs of the bullpen squirrels. Tyler Alexander gives up 2 runs in a third of an inning. Cole Winn, 2 runs allowed in a third of an inning. Brandon Peoples, 4 outs of the bullpen squirrels. And Peter Lambert, solid start here. He gives up 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings. Stephen Okert, he gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Brian Abreu, pair of outs of the bullpen scoreless. Brian King, he was the king of give you a pair of outs scoreless. And AJ Blubaugh, he was able to go for 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless as well. If you had the under in this Seattle Mariners versus Minnesota Twins game, and I very much was one of those people, this was a little bit of a lump of coal as things were very, very overwhelming late, but the Mariners, they do get the job done. This by a count of 7-6, as for the starters, they had a very nice showing here. George Kirby, 7 shutout innings for the Seattle Mariners. Taj Bradley, he wasn't playing too many games. Does give up 3 runs in 6 innings, but still not too bad. From there, Kendrys Rojas, so he gives up 3 runs over the course of his inning of work. Big dumper Cal Raleigh, 12th home run in the campaign. AJ Mitchell from there, he scoreless inning, but Yandres Gomez with the game 6-6 in the 9th inning allows Colt Emerson to get an RBI single. That walks off the game, as for the Seattle Mariners, their bullpen had some issues as well. Edward Bizarro, a bizarre 3 runs, 2 of which were given up in a third of an inning, and he was taken deep by Trevor Larnach, 10th home run season. Royce Lewis from there off of Jose Ferrer gets his 12th home run season. Ferrer gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning, including that home run, and Andres Munoz gets the win despite giving up a home run to Lucas Shaw, his 6th home run of the season, his 2nd of the series, but hey, it was enough to be able to get the job done, so yay verily there, and yay verily to the Slam Diego Padres. 5-4, they're able to take down the San Francisco Giants. It was sort of the mix and match game here for the San Diego Padres, as Kyle Hart ended up getting the start in this one. He goes 3 shutout innings. JP Sears from there, he gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work. Griffin Canning, he goes for 2 innings. He gives up a run along the way. Gives up, as a matter of fact, a solo home run to Olivis Bosby. Hopefully I got that name correct. 2nd home run of the season, 2nd home run of the series. So good for him. And Rafael Devers a little bit later on off of Bragley Rodriguez. He would get home run number 23 of the campaign for Rodriguez. Gives up that home run in 2/3 of an inning of work, 1 run in total. Jeremiah Estrada is scoreless inning, and Andre Motajon got 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless to be able to get the save there. And Landon Roop, well, he got destroyed. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 2/3 innings. Jackson Merrill takes some deep 16th home run season. Sam Antages, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Dylan Smith, scoreless inning. JT Brubaker, Eric Miller, they combined for a scoreless inning, but damage by then had been done. And then on Sunday Night Baseball, the Boston Red Sox, they get an 8-4 win over the Dodgers. Emmett Sheehan, he gives up 3 bombs and he gives up 5 runs in 2 2/3 innings. You had a home run for Masataka Yoshida, 5th home run season. Ceddanne Rafael is 15th. Weiler Abreu, Wiles out for his 17th home run season. Then you had home run number 14 for Jaron Duran. From there, Jack Dreyer, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Evan Phillips, scoreless inning. Kyle Hurt, he gets hurt with giving up a home run to Mr. Duran, who I mentioned before. 14th home run of the campaign, and he gave up that 1 run in 2 innings. Wyatt Mills, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 2 innings. And Jake Bennett, 3 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Justin Slayton and out of the bullpen scoreless. Teron Guerrero gives up a run in an inning, but Giovanni Morin, Greg Weiser, they combine for a scoreless inning. And then Garrett Woodlock, scoreless inning of his own. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, overall for the season, the under rate is 50.85%, 835 unders, 807 overs, and if math serves me correct, 39 pushes. Favorites on the money line hitting at 56.5%, 921 and 713. And on the run line, we have seen 227 of those favorites not cover. Last 7 days has been brutal for favorites covering the run line. 60 and 37 on the money line, so 62% there, but 21 of those favorites failed to cover the run line, and the under rate, holy crud, 58.33%, 56 unders, 40 overs, and along the way, I believe we've now had 1 push in that time span. Overall in the last 30 days, we've seen 10 pushes, 155 overs, 202 unders, so 56.6% to the under. Favorites in the last 30 days, hitting at about 58.4%, 208 and 148, with 61 of those favorites failing to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, let's chat it up with our good friend Tanner Kern of DraftKings right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Back your lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Tanner Kern aboard. He does such great work over at DraftKings, looking at this great game of baseball that we all know and love, but he does a great job on so many different fronts. I know that he's getting set for what is going to be an amazing football season. He was doing a great job with the World Cup, basketball, you name it. He does it. He also does the Ride the Line podcast with one of our good friends, Grant Mitchell. And you're able to follow him on Twitter/X at Tanner Kern, his first and last name, Kern on the last name, and then an underscore. And Tanner, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Always a pleasure.
Always great to have you aboard. And Tanner, we're doing this before we have the conclusion on some of these Sunday games, and certainly we might see some trades that we weren't alerted to here in the hours between us doing this podcast and it actually coming out. But how do you take a look at the trade deadline right now? Because I have a feeling that this August 3rd date is going to be very, very active, and I think that there's going to be a lot of teams wheeling and dealing.
Well, it's definitely a tough deadline to look at because when you look at the state of the American League right now, for example, there's still a lot of teams in the mix. I'll take the Boston Red Sox, for example. They've gone on this great July, the best in franchise history, but you still look at it. Cleveland is in the mix. And then Minnesota's only a half game behind Cleveland. Same thing with Texas. Baltimore's 1.5 games back. Like, we're talking about teams that are 2.5 to 3 games back being sellers in this market, but you can't necessarily commit to them being full sellers because they're still in the playoff picture. And if anyone can have a nice month like the Boston Red Sox were able to do, they would be right back in the playoff picture. So it's hard to look at this trade deadline specifically because the line between seller and buyer is so slim.
And I do have to ask you about this as well, because there are some clear buyers out there, and pretty much all those teams are in the National League, aside from, I would say, the Yankees are going to be buyers, Red Sox, and Tampa Bay Rays. Does this all come back to the LA Dodgers just making a whole bunch of big giant moves and everyone being mad that the Dodgers just keep on buying the best money that money can buy?
Well, it goes to the Dodgers. It would definitely go back to them. I mean, it's baseball, right? Anything can happen over the course of a 7-game series. The Dodgers are by far the most talented team out there, but they can still lose in the playoffs. And we've seen that in the past, right? We've seen high-powered Dodger teams not be able to get it done. But yeah, it's probably the Dodgers and everybody else. And no matter what a team does at the trade deadline, whether it's the American League or National League, everyone's still going to be chasing LA.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to take a look at that aspect of things, as Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And when it comes to the Tariq Skubal sweepstakes, right now the odds-on favorite in terms of prediction markets are the Dodgers to be able to land him. There's a very slim chance that he stays with the Tigers. I'd be very surprised if that happens, but are there a few other teams that you think might be interesting? Because I've been hearing the Milwaukee Brewers pop up. I just keep on coming back to the Philadelphia Phillies, and I think they're going to be one of the most interesting teams, not just with the Tariq Skubal sweepstakes, but with the trade deadline as a whole.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are definitely the team that has the power when it comes to their prospects and just their overall talent to go out and sign a guy like Skubal. I think Milwaukee is definitely second on that list, but in my mind, it's going to be the Dodgers getting him.
Yeah, I think that that's the unfair reality of things, but I do think that there are still some interesting pitchers that are going to be out there on the market, like Sandy Alcantara is one that pops up. And do you think that for the Brewers, maybe the play is trying to get someone like a Freddie Peralta? I've been hearing a lot of things linked to the Brewers and Freddie Peralta. Obviously, used to pitch for the Brewers last season, and then trying to get a bat, because I think even if the Brewers were to get Tariq Skubal, Freddie Peralta, what have you, I still think they need a little bit more offense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, pitching obviously wins a lot of games, but in the playoffs, it's so hard to score runs because it's hard to piece together singles, right? So, a team like the Boston Red Sox, for example, might struggle there if you don't have the power. Same thing with the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that is going to bunt the ball all over the field, but they might not have the big time power. So they need a pitcher. They also need some offense there as well. Peralta could be a guy. Sandy Alcantara could be a guy. But you look at what the Marlins want for Sandy right now, the demands seem pretty high. So it might be a little tougher to pull him because Marlins are in a spot right now in the National League, at least, where you don't necessarily have to sell. And for a guy like Sandy, he's going to be a big part of a playoff run if they want to go there. So they're one game out of that final playoff spot. So the offers for Sandy are going to be much harder to get, I would say, right now in this market.
Yep, it is going to be interesting to take a look to see what we're going to be getting there. And when it comes to players not named Tariq Skubal, obviously Sandy Alcantara is one that stands out. We were talking about Freddie Peralta. And are there a few other pitchers that are maybe going a little bit under the radar? I would mention Joe Ryan, but it just feels like he's going to be staying in Minnesota. And I think that that's a little bit of a blow for some of these teams that want to be buyers, because I thought he would be a good number 2, number 3 option out there in the market.
Yeah, I think he's going to be staying in Minnesota for sure. They're only a half game back of that final playoff spot. I don't think Minnesota's that good, but
and they actually bought a little bit too.
Yeah, and if they get rid of a guy like Joe Ryan, it not only, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be in the playoff picture in the American League, because the American League's not great, but it just shows, what is the team's mindset moving forward if you get rid of a guy like Joe Ryan, not necessarily something that's going to instill, positivity throughout the locker room. But yeah, I think Joe Ryan's a guy who could be on the move. I don't necessarily see it as much. Guy that we're not really talking about as much, I would say, Mason Miller. He's got 3 years of control. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to offer the Padres something to get him out, but he's definitely a top trade candidate. The thing about the Padres is this team's been so talented. There's talented pieces all over San Diego, but they haven't necessarily been able to win with this group. So maybe it's time to blow it up. I just think if you're going to blow it up, it's still not smart to get rid of Mason Miller. So he's been a big pitcher name that's been floated around. I just don't see that as much. And then George Kirby's another name for the Seattle Mariners. Seattle's starting to slide out of the mix a little bit. I know they're 2.5 games back of that final wild card spot, but they just don't necessarily look like a team that has it right now. I mean, when you got everything last year with Seattle, they were so dependent on Cal Raleigh and what he was able to do. And then this year, you've just gotten virtually no production out of him from an offensive standpoint. Seattle has one of the best rotations in baseball, so you could afford to give up a guy like George Kirby and still be okay in the playoff picture. But, they're only 2.5 games out, right? And you don't have offense. You want to cling on to as much pitching as you can. It's just a really hard market to read right now because everybody is so tight together.
Yep, it is a really hard market to read. Like with the Astros, what do they do? Because they've got a little bit more of an aging core. This could be their last dance, and it's about as weak of an American League as we've ever seen as well. As Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings, he's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and we've talked a lot about pitchers, where they may not be moving. How about the hitters? Because Shea Langoliers was supposed to be one of those guys that many teams wanted. That would have been perfect for the White Sox, who need a catcher. Unfortunately, he's injured. It seems as though he's probably going to be done for the year, but I want to get your thoughts on some of these guys that might be moving, because I look at the Giants with a guy like Rafael Devers, because you know about him all too well. The Boston Red Sox certainly won that trade. William Adames, guys like that, and I think that those become interesting pieces now moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Rafael Devers could be one of those guys. I think it's more likely Luis Arraez is traded, unless San Francisco fully hates Rafael Devers at this point, which they very well could. There's been some interesting moments there with him this season. I think he'll stay in San Francisco, but Luis Arraez should be on the mix. If I'm looking at, impact bats that could be on the move, the number one that comes to mind for me, at least, is CJ Abrams, just because he's been linked to Boston in some capacity. Still, the Washington Nationals have such a good offensive young core. I hate to see them blow it up, but CJ Abrams is a guy who could be on the move. There's Zach Neto, Jeremy Pena. Like the way Jeremy Pena is hitting the ball right now, and just seeing the stats obviously jump out the page at you. But like for me, I have him in fantasy. I get alerted every night he's hitting home runs right now. So Houston's still in the mix as well. He could be a guy that's on the move though still. Otto Lopez is another guy from Miami Marlins if they want to blow it up there. But these pieces that, these impact bats, they're really good players on teams that are only a couple games out. And long term, these teams might not be contenders with what they have. But it's still, again, I keep reemphasizing this fact, it's so hard to read this market right now because all these teams that we're talking about with these impact players are in the playoff mix.
Yep, it is so interesting. The only real teams that are out of it are like the Kansas City Royals, the Colorado Rockies, and they don't necessarily have the greatest sell pieces. And so if the Rockies want to move on from Hunter Goodman, which I'm sure there's a lot of teams that would love Hunter Goodman on the roster, but I don't think that the Rockies are going to be doing that. So it makes it a little bit more intriguing with that regard, because there are so many teams that are just hovering right around no man's land. And how do you take a look at this team? Because I've been making this case on the podcast the last few days. I would argue that if you're the Chicago White Sox, you're a very young team, you're much ahead of schedule, but I think now is the time to buy. Obviously, don't mortgage the entire future, but I do think that this could be their best opportunity to be able to make a World Series run, no matter how young they are, just because of how weak the American League is. And with the White Sox being atop of the AL Central, I think that they should be a team that should be more aggressive than I think a lot of people are anticipating.
I agree, because you never know how you're going to get this market again. Tampa Bay, New York, Boston, they're always going to be in the mix. It's the teams like Baltimore and the teams like Chicago, and I would say maybe, the Athletics before they fell off the map, or even the Texas Rangers. I would say that's a team that's obviously been down in the mix in the playoffs a lot more than the Chicago White Sox have as of late. But yeah, I think this is the perfect market for the White Sox to go by. They're sitting at 58 and 52 right now, heading into Sunday's games. They're in first place in the American League Central. Like, this was unexpected. If you look at the White Sox, just their win total so far this season, I think they've almost surpassed it already. They're at 58. I think it was in the mid 60s. So they're going to hit that with ease, obviously. If you're doing that, you just don't know when you're going to get these opportunities again in the American League. So again, perfect time to buy for Chicago.
Totally agree with you. I hope that they do, because I do think that this is a bunch that if they can add a little bit more veteran leadership, they've got a few guys like Randall Grichuk, Andrew Benintendi that have been in the postseason, but they don't have a ton of that. That will be big for them. And is there maybe one or two either players or teams that we haven't talked about yet that you're just keeping your eye on them. You don't necessarily know what they're going to do. You don't necessarily know if that player might be moved or not, but you're thinking maybe it's like a conspiracy theory, because we love conspiracy theories on this podcast, but maybe you're thinking that there might be a little bit of something unexpected that happens here in the next 48 or so hours.
I think we've kind of talked about a lot of the guys I expect to be on the move. If Skubal didn't go to the Dodgers, I'd be surprised. Like, that could be something I'm taking a look at. Mason Miller is definitely a guy who I'm watching to see if he's going to get traded. I can't see him getting traded, but I think that's one that's, obviously alive to be traded. Jeremy Pena, again, that's going to dictate how the Houston Astros go about the rest of their season. As far as the other names on the list, nothing really jumps off the page. I would say maybe an Adley Rutschman. I saw Boston was linked to him today, but again, in-division trades are so tough. He's got one more year of control after 2026. The Rangers could benefit from him, the Phillies, the Reds, Pirates. Like, there's a lot of teams that could benefit from Adley, but he would probably be the one guy. It'll be interesting to see what happens there with him. And then, other Orioles, potentially like a Jackson Holiday, who maybe hasn't performed, but he could help a team. I see, though, Adley Rutschman is probably the main guy for Baltimore, who I think would be traded.
Yep, it's going to be so, shall we say, interesting to see what happens in the final few hours, because we haven't seen a lot of moves made yet as we record this again. Might see a few more on Sunday night before this comes out, but as of right now, a lot of teams are seeing what they do in these last couple of games before they decide whether or not they're going to buy or sell. That's how thin the margins are right now. And Tanner, you're doing your best to be able to take a look at all of this. You're doing an amazing job over at DraftKings and so much more. So love to get people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
So you can find me every day on the DraftKings Sportsbook social pages, then at Tanner Kern on all my personal platforms. And then Tuesdays and Fridays do the podcast Ride the Line with Grant Mitchell.
And Tanner, he does such an amazing job looking at this great sport of baseball, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. So a big thanks to Tanner for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we catch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be joined by Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings, looking at this great game of baseball, basketball, football, you name it, he does it. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Tanner for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games also in time order. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So let's get things started. It's 9:01, 9:02 on the betting board. The Phillies are going to be playing us to the Washington Nationals. We do know that for the Phillies, it is going to be Aaron Nola going for them. For the Nationals, right now it is listed as undecided. It is between Trevor Williams and Zach Littell getting the start. And right now the opening number for the Philadelphia Phillies, -144, +134 on Washington. 9.5 being that total. The under is -125 and the over is +105. And whether it is Trevor Williams or Zach Littell, I am going to be on the Philadelphia Phillies. I pretty much set this at a -153 regardless. These are two very much pitch to contact guys. Littell has gotten more run this year, but man, Zach Littell has not been great this far this season. Let's call it what it is, giving up over 2 home runs per 9 innings. When there's been an opener used in front of him, he's been a little bit more okay. And for Trevor Williams, he's only pitched out of the bullpen, which means that you're going to be getting a lot of the bullpen. And heck, you're going to be getting a lot of the bullpen regardless of which of these guys pitches. And for the Nationals, they entered into their previous series dead last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen area. As a matter of fact, for Trevor Williams, he's only pitched 4 innings this year. And I mean, heck, if you get Zach Littell, you might have Trevor Williams coming in after him anyway. So that's a big reason why it really doesn't matter as to which of these guys starts. I will be in on the Philadelphia Phillies. And then you just look at that Nationals bullpen. Carson Palmquist, Riley Cornelio, both over a 5.50 ERA. PJ Poulin and Brad Lord are 2 of your best relievers. They're currently on the Angeles. You have not been able to get much production out of like Max Kranick and these guys, so that's a bit of an issue. Now for the Washington Nationals, numero uno in terms of run creation this year, you've had James Wood give you good wood, 30-plus home runs. He's up to a 395 on base. Down Lyle has been able to move lines. C.J. Abrams, 27-plus bombs, 360 or so on base. Asim Nunez, by the way, like 38 or 39 stolen bases this year. Could use a little bit more of Dylan Cruz, Andres Shapiro, young guys that haven't done a ton, but Shapiro's starting to get on base as well. And for the Phillies, this is a much more lethal lineup when they're at home rather than away from home. When the Phillies have been away from home, they've been a bottom 5 team in the big leagues in terms of run creation. Meanwhile, when they have been at home, they've been a far better team. They've been averaging 30 or run per game more, with nearly 4.8 runs per game. And while it's still a top-heavy lineup, Trey Turner down for Wood has been able to step up for this team as he's been able to slug out quite a few home runs since the All-Star break. He's now back to hitting at 250. Bryce Harper has obviously done his part, 22-plus bombs, 360 on base. Kyle Schwarber's been a little bit cold with the deep ball, 365 on base. He still has 33 home runs, but he's been stuck there for quite a while. Need more out of the catcher spot with JT Realmuto, need more out of Alec Boehm, but Bryson Stott is hitting a little bit better. Brian De La Cruz on a small sample size has actually been solid as well for the Phillies. It's been a little bit of a rough go of it for the bullpen with Yohan Duran having a few issues, Ryan Kerkering as well, but these have been two guys that have still been pretty rock solid for this bullpen, both a sub-345 ERA. Jonathan Boland's been really good as well. He's posting up an ERA hovering right around about a 3, and with the Nationals, whether it's Littell or Williams, just unwilling to trust them, even though Aaron Nola, he himself has just been rough this year. He's just been an overrated pitcher throughout his entire career. He's always been a little bit better at home rather than away from home, though. 5.61 ERA, 5.08 fielding dependent, giving up 2.1 home runs per 9 innings. So I think they get a slugfest like the over, sub I told 9.7, and for the Phillies, I'm willing to lay up to minus 152 on the money line. 903, 904 on the betting board. It's the Buccos. They are going to be on the road against the Brewers. Brandon Sproat goes for the Brewers. Bubba Chandler is on the bump for the Pirates, and the Pirates walk the plank to being a plus 119 to plus 125 underdog. Meanwhile, minus 138 to a minus 145. That number on the Brewers, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 105. Meanwhile, minus 115 to minus 110 is the under. I set the Brewers at a minus 143, so willing to go up to a minus 142 there. For Brandon Sproat, he's actually been much better recently, giving up 3 earned runs or fewer in each out of his past 6 starts. I recognize that the ERA is still 5.05, 1.7 home runs, 4.5 walks per 9 innings, but on the flip side for Bubba Chandler, even though he's been better recently, he has now given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 7 out of his last 9 starts, carrying a 4.56 ERA. He has been giving up the 4.9 walks per 9 innings. 2 good offenses here. The Pirates entered into yesterday second in the big leagues in terms of run creation. The Brewers, they've been a top 6 team as well. For the Pirates, they've been a little bit cold since the All-Star break, but you saw Brandon Lau, who's gotten loud with his 22-plus home runs, hitting at 255. Jake Magnum, Nick Gonzalez, they both hit above a 300. Esmeralda and Valdez, a home run every about 11 or so at-bats. He's up to a 365 on base. Even some of these mix and match guys, look at Jacob Gonzalez, has been able to do a nice job moving the line. Andy Rodriguez has been an upside guy. Pirates just have the far worse bullpen in this ordeal, as Carmen Molzinski has been solid as a long guy, but Evan Sisk is currently on the injury list. They're kicking the tires on Camilo Doval, has not been good this year. Yohan Ramirez, sub-350 ERA, but Welber Dotel has had his issues. For the Brewers, this continues to be a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA themselves, with Trevor McGill, Grant Anderson, Abner Uribe. I'll give you a sub-355 ERA. We have seen Aaron Ashby act up a little bit, but overall, it has been a solid bullpen for the Brewers. They actually got blanked yesterday, uncharacteristic of them. This is not a team that's going to have a lot of homers. Bottom 6 in terms of home runs out of per at-bat basis, but Jake Bowers has been able to give you 19 bombs, about a 370 on base. Bryce Terang, Garrett Mitchell, a pair of guys over a 360 on base. David Hamilton doesn't necessarily for a lot of average, but one of the best base stealers in all of baseball. Andrew Vaughn, Cooper Pratt, both above a 380 on base as well. And for Sproat, I feel like he's in a little bit of better form than Chandler. That, in my opinion, puts me in on the Brewers and in on this total to the over. I set my total 9.1. I think that both pitchers have a rough go of it, so give me the over and give me the Brewers here on the money line. 905, 906 on the betting board. It's the Dodgers. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Chicago Cubs. We do know that Matthew Boyd is going to be on the bump for the Cubs. Right now, it is listed as to be determined for the LA Dodgers. We are seeing a few openers, as I think that a lot of places are projecting that Justin Robelski is going to be getting the start here. And for the LA Dodgers, they are a mid-sized favorite here, anywhere between minus 122 to a minus 131. Plus 109 to plus 112 is that number on the Cubs. The total is 8.5. The over and under juice are all over the place, anywhere between even money to minus 120. So a little bit of a pick your poison situation there. If you're looking at the win, it's going to be a little bit more directional on this day. Might be blowing out a little bit towards the end of the game, but certainly it is a case where things are going to be a bit all over the place on this, and I'm going to be in on the over. I did set my total at a 9.1. I am personally thinking that Justin Robelski is going to be getting the start here for the Dodgers. That's a little bit TBD because they picked up Tarik Skubal in the trade and everything like that, but I have to think that's Robelski, and I do think that he's doing for some regression. Like with Justin Robelski, he has been absolutely tremendous thus far this season, but when you're getting as few strikeouts as he is, a 2.88 ERA is just really hard to maintain. 6.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now he's only giving up 1 home run, 1.7 walks per 9 innings. Was had a little bit in his last start against the Seattle Mariners, but additionally, this is a Dodgers team that has been completely different with their offense when they have been away from home rather than at home. When the Dodgers are away from home, they are numero uno in terms of run creation. They are posting up about 4.8 runs per game away from home. Going into Sunday Night Baseball, 4.44 runs per game at home. And with Matthew Boyd, he's a guy that just really isn't impressing me right now since he's come off the injury list. His ERA has very much went downward, but overall for the season, 8.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. In his 7 starts since coming off the injury list, that's down to only about 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. So that does cause me to have quite a few question marks there. Now for the LA Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani, even though he's dealing with a little bit of a leg injury, he's still been able to do an absolutely phenomenal job this season, and he's been able to supply for the team with 22 plus home runs, right around about a 400 on base. I absolutely love what I've been seeing out of Freddie Freeman recently. He's up to 15 plus home runs, hitting above 300. Max Muncy is giving you 18 plus home runs. AD Paz continues to do a good job in terms of getting on base, being able to supply homers as well, and then you've been able to get Tommy Edman back. He's been hitting a 300 plus ever since he's come off the injury list. So it's been a little bit of a rough season for the likes of Kyle Tucker, Teoscar Hernandez, but Hernandez had a home run in that series against the Boston Red Sox, and for the Dodgers, this is a bullpen that is solid. They're a upper half of the big league team in terms of bullpen area, but now they're dealing with a lot of injuries. Will Klein, Brock Stewart, Blake Trinan all on the injury list. Now Alex Vesia, Tanner Scott, they've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Edgar Enriquez has been able to step up in a big way for this team as well, and they are getting back Edwin Diaz. We'll have to see what sort of form he's in because it's been a little bit of a rough season for him, but still very small sample size there, and you've had Kyle Hurt really start to regress for this team a little bit, but you want to talk about a team that's dealing with bullpen injuries, man. For the Chicago Cubs, it feels like 2/3 of this bullpen is currently on the injury list. Like, man, you've got Daniel Palencia currently out, Riley Martin, they've had Porter Hodge out for the entirety of the season, Phil Matone, Hobie Milner, so Jacob Webb, Trent Thornton, these guys have had to come up big, and I mean, so far so good. They've been able to give you a sub-3.25 ERA. Ryan Rolson has been solid, but Caleb Theobar is a little bit of a roll of the dice. The Cubs have been a top 6 team in terms of run creation this year. Preco Armstrong, 24 bombs, over a 380 on base, and then you've got a lot of guys that may not hit for average, but they find a way on, like a Michael Bush. He's only hitting a 241, but a 356 on base. Carson Kelly, 260 average, 350 on base. Now Seiya Suzuki, 275 average, 365 on base. He's just solid with 18 home runs. And then Ian Happ, 216 average, but closer to 326 on base. He's got 18 home runs as well, so makes it a very interesting circumstance. Just for me personally, I'm not trusting in Matthew Boyd in this spot, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Dodgers on the money line. Set this at a -133, and I'm in on the over, so my total at a 9.1. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Padres. They're going to be on the road against the Diamondbacks. Brandon Pfaadt looks to battle for the D-backs, and Michael King looks to be the king for the Padres, and the Padres are a slim favorite here of -105 to -112, plus 102 to a -108 is that number on Arizona. 8.5 is the total. Over is -115, and the under is -105, and I do like the over. I did set my total at an 8.8. Now for the San Diego Padres, this unit overall for the season has been in the bottom 10 in terms of run creation, but if you look at the San Diego Padres post All-Star break, they've been averaging over 4.5 runs per game. They've been much better there, and they've just been a better offense when they've been away from home this year. 3.8 runs per game at home, over 4.6 runs per game away from home, and this is a Diamondbacks team that they've been able to put on there about 4.6 runs per game themselves. For Brandon Pfaadt, ever since he returned to the rotation, he's made 6 starts. He has allowed 7 runs with a 185 ERA. Now, he's only getting 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. I don't know if that's sustainable, but I know he has been tremendous. With the Diamondbacks, they're down with their power this year. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte has been your main boom guy with about 18 home runs. He's hitting a 250. Corbin Carroll did have a home run in the previous series. He and Nolan Arenado between 15 to 16 home runs apiece, and with Carroll right around about a 340 on base. Need more on some of these guys like Tim Tewa, Adrian Del Castro towards the bottom of the full. Max Kepler is not really panned out for this team, but Gabriel Moreno hitting darn near 300. You've been able to get some good on base out of Geraldo Perdomo as well. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, guys on Paul Sewald have been pretty trustworthy for this team, as you've been able to have some good innings out of these guys like Taylor Clark, Jonathan Loaizaga. They've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Brian Thompson has been one of those guys as well. Brayden Garcia has like a 210 ERA thus far this season, and they've been able to find some success with a few of these mix and match guys as well. Like, you take a look at Gerald Carrillo. It's been a small sample size out of him, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of him. And for the Padres, this continues to be one of the more rock-solid bullpens in all of baseball, but they sort of had a mix and match game yesterday with Kyle Hart getting the start there, and you've had Jeremiah Estrada be in and out of the fold. He's back in, but they had to use him for quite a few pitches along with Bradley Rodriguez yesterday, but you do have Wandy Peralta has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Adrian Morejon has been very solid with about a 3 ERA. Mason Miller, as of right now, he's still on the team, and I would assume that they're not going to be moving him. And for the Padres, it's been a case where the team just hasn't done the best job in terms of moving line. Ty France has been solid, 15-plus home runs, sitting darting near 300, and then for Fernando Tatis Jr., he's hovering right around about a 355 on base. A few home runs since the All-Star break, but still only 8 for the season. Xander Bogaerts, Song at the bottom of the fold, Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, all these guys are hitting at 225 or lower. Jackson Merrill still a sub 300 on base as well, so that's a little bit of an issue. And for Michael King, his swing and miss stuff is way down. He's down to about 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He is still posting up a relatively solid ERA. It's below a 350, but fielding independent is above a 4 because he has given up 3.7 walks per 9 innings, and I do think that the Diamondbacks get the job done here. I set the Diamondbacks at a minus 114 and on their money line and on the over, so I told it at 8.8. 909, 910 on the card. It's the Blue Jays. They're going to be on the road against the Astros as Shane Bieber has a fever for getting outs for Toronto, and Christian Javier is on the bump for Houston. Houston is a minus 125 to minus 135 favorite, and between plus 110 to a plus 120 is that number on Toronto with a 9 total. Over and under any between minus 105 to a minus 150. I do like the Astros here. I set this at a minus 136. Shane Bieber has actually given up 2 runs or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts. Just still someone that I'm not willing to trust in too much right now. Overall for the season, he's giving you about a 5.74 ERA. He's been giving up 2+ home runs per 9 innings, so that has been a massive issue for him. And then on the flip side for Christian Javier, it's been not any better for him. He's right now posting up an ERA that is a 7.17, but if you look at him since coming off the injury list, it's a small sample size of 12 innings. He's only given up 4 runs in that time span. That's good for an ERA that is a 3. He's been able to get 8.9 strikeouts per 9 innings thus far this season. We'll never see him be back to the form that he was in a few seasons ago, but hey, it seems like there's improvement. And for the Astros, what else has really improved? This entire bullpen. Ever since June 1st, they're posting up about a 291 or so bullpen ERA. That is actually number 3 in all baseballs. You've had quite a few of these guys step up. Brian King, along with AJ Bluebar, right around about a 365 ERA, but it's much better than what they were. Stephen Okert, they did have to use him yesterday, but a sub 235 ERA. They've got Josh Hader rested. He's been very good since coming off the injury list. And for the Astros, can be a little bit all or nothing with the lineup. Yordan Alvarez, I mean, he's been incredible, 36+ home runs, 442 on base, and the Astros are not going to be sellers anymore because they're well above 500 with being able to take care of business against the Rangers. Jose Altuve may not be himself, but Christian Walker has been able to give you 20+ home runs. Jeremy Pena now give you a 375 on base with a double-figure amount of homers. Isaac Paredes up to a 350 on base. These mix and match outfielders like the currently injured Bryce Matthews, Cam Smith, Lamont Wade Jr., these guys hitting at 225 or lower, Jake Myers, like that's not been great, along with the catcher spot. Yunior Diaz just a 282 on base, but still liking what I'm seeing there. And for the Blue Jays, they continue to be a bottom 2 offense in terms of run creation. Like, they weren't able to hit Matthew Liberatore yesterday. It's been absolutely awful for them. Kazuma Okamoto is the lone guy on the roster that has over 12 home runs this season. Vlad Guerrero Jr., 6 bombs and is hitting at 265. He's been bombing this year, quite literally. Nathan Lukes hitting at 275, and Ernie Clement, AC Sanchez, pair of guys are able to move the line, but Andres Jimenez has been a dead bad. Miles Straw has been a dead bad, and for the Blue Jays, relatively presentable bullpen here. You've got a pair of guys, Louis Varland alongside the Rogers, who've been able to give you a sub 250 ERA. Brandon Little has been absolutely awful this year. Braden Fisher, Mason Fluharty, you're getting some okay innings there, so I do think that you get a lower scoring game, so I might tell it at 8.5, like the under for the Astros, 1 to lay up to a minus 135 on the money line. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Cardinals. They're going to be on the road against the Yankees, as it is Cam Schlittler on the bump for the Yankees, and one Mr. Michael McGreevy goes for the Cardinals. Cardinals between plus 155 to a plus 176, minus 180 to minus 190 is that number on the Yankees with a total of 8 over and under, both at minus 110. Give me a shot here on the Cardinals. I set this at a plus 162. For Michael McGreevy, he is certainly pitching to a lot of contact, but as I like to say, he keeps things out in front of him. He doesn't make the big mistake. 1.2 home runs, 2.3 walks per 9 innings, about 5.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 357 ERA, 422 fielding dependent, and here's a fear for the New York Yankees. Cam Schlittler has actually been significantly better when he has been away from home rather than at home. Like, he's putting together a great year. 2.04 ERA, strikeout to walk ratio that is above a 7. Like, he has been tremendous. But 3.83 home ERA compared to a 1.10 road ERA. That is absolutely massive. And with this Cardinals team, they have been a significantly better offense when they have been away from home rather than at home. As a matter of fact, for the Cardinals, they are dead last in the big leagues in terms of the National League, in terms of runs per game at home. The Angels are now dead last in the big leagues in terms of runs per game at home, but last in the National League with about 3.65 runs per game at home. They average over 5 runs per game away from home. That is 4th in all of baseball. Jordan Walker has been able to do a nice job being able to supply the team with well over 20 home runs. He's hitting over at 275, and then we got the likes of Lars Nootbaar, Alec Burleson, J.J. Weatherholt. They've been able to give you between about a 333 to a 350 on base. Weatherholt got the day off yesterday. Should be good to go here. Mason Wynn maybe isn't giving you a lot at the bottom of the full, but Ivan Herrera away from home, he's been able to give you over 375 on base. Now, the Cardinals are going to be outgunned with the bullpen. The Yankees have been number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st, and you've got some of these guys like a David Bednar, Fernando Cruz, Paul Blackburn, give you a sub-3 ERA. Brent Hendrick has been great. They deal away Camilo Doval. He was the weak link in that bullpen. And for the Cardinals, you've had Ryan Stanek be better recently, but he and Matt Savanson over a 350 ERA. Riley O'Brien has been a little bit shaky recently. Justin Brule, Gordon Gaseffo, they give you presentable innings, but that's going to be a little bit of an issue. But again, with Cam Schlittler having much worse numbers at home, I think the Cardinals can get the job done here. Semi-total is 7.9 because the Yankees, in their last 36 games, averaging fewer than 3.5 runs per game. Like, man, even though they won yesterday, that was a 2-1 slog. Ben Rice has been able to give you 30-plus homers and about a 355 on base, but he's starting to toilet bowl. Trent Grisham is hitting just above the Mendoza line of 200, along with Ryan McMahon. I mean, for Jazz Chisholm, 15-plus home runs, but a 295 on base. Yasan Dominguez a 271 on base. Spencer Jones giving you a little bit of something, but you need more. Paul Goldschmidt is toilet bowl. Like, I just don't know where the offense comes from for the Yankees. So, in on the under, and the Cardinals on a Mondo number on the money line. 9-13, 9-14 on the card. It is the Giants. They're going to be on the road against the Walker Texas Rangers. We do know that Logan Webb is going to be on the bump for the Giants. Right now, it is listed as to be determined for the Texas Rangers, but, I mean, in some form or capacity, we should be getting Cal Quantrill, whether he be a bulk guy, whether he be the starter in this game. And right now, we are starting to see some openers with the Giants between about a plus 102 to a minus 112, minus 108 to minus 110 on Texas. So relative pick'em total is an 8. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. And I'm going to be in on the Giants here. I did set them at a minus 117 for Logan Webb. I know that throughout his career, he's had some pretty demonstrative home and road splits. His ERA raises by a full point, but he has been at his best ever since the beginning of the month of June. Since the beginning of the month of June, a 3.24 ERA overall for the season, 3.93 ERA. But he's pitched better than that this year. 3.43 fielding independent. Strikeout numbers are down. Career low 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's allowing just 0.7 home runs at 2.3 walks per 9 innings. And I always talk about the home and road splits for Logan Webb. Logan Webb has been a little bit better away from home this year. 3.88 home ERA, 4 ERA away from home, albeit he gives up many more home runs when he's away from home rather than at home. But I mean, he's been solid in terms of not getting lit up when he's been on the road this season. Meanwhile, for Cal Quantrill, the 3.84 ERA is solid. He is pitching to a whole bunch of contact right now. 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.2 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, and he's been much better when he has been at home rather than away from home as well, because Arlington, it very much does suppress offense. I still do like this 8 total to the over. You do have a Giants team that has been overall bottom 10 team in terms of run creation, and by the time this game starts, someone like a Willie Adames, Rafael Devers, Luis Arias, these are guys that might be on the move, but I would think that they keep at least 2 out of those 3 guys. The Giants averaging closer to about 4.25 runs per game when they're away from home. Bryce Eldridge is certainly a guy that they're going to keep 350 on base. He's been able to do a rock-solid job. Jungle Lee is a guy that's been hitting darn near 300 for this bunch as well. And don't look now, but I mean, you had 3 home runs last week out of Daniel Susic at the catcher spot. It is a Giants team that is down in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Been a little bit rough for some of these guys, and you've still got Yoel Figueroa currently on the injury list, but you've got JT Brubaker give you a sub-325 ERA. Sam Hentages has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Eric Miller, Dylan Smith, these mix and match guys, they've been able to give you a sub-325 ERA as well. And for the Texas Rangers, the Jacobs, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, along with Tyler Alexander, have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA, but now you're without Junis for a little bit. They pick up Chase Silseth at the trade deadline. That's going to help them out a little bit, but Chris Martin still dealing with an injury, and the Rangers have been a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation as well. They've been a little bit better here over the last few weeks with Wyatt Langford coming back, hitting for about a 275 double-figure amount of homers, but Corey Seager continues to have a miserable season, hitting below the middle line 200. I have a lot of guys like Ezekiel Duran, don't call his name, Alejandro Ozuna, Brandon Nimmo, hitting between about a 258 to a 270. Justin Foscue hitting for about a 255 as well, and credit to Jock Peterson, about a 340 on base, 19 home runs, but do think that the Giants here, even though they might sell a piece or two at the deadline, get the job done. I think that they get to Quantrill. One to lay up to a minus 116 on the Giants money line. I like the over, semi-total at an 8.2. Wrap things up with 9:15, 9:16 on the card. It is the Braves. They are going to be on the road against the Rockies as Michael Lorenzen is on the bump for the Rockies. Ian Seymour is going to be going for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay between minus 148 to minus 165 favorites, plus 135 to a plus 143 is that number on Colorado. 11.5 is the total. The unders minus 115 to a minus 110, minus 105 to minus 110 is that number on the Rays. Between minus 104 to a minus 110 is that number on the run line, and I'm going to be in on the Tampa Bay Rays. Personally, I'm going to go with a little bit of a chalkier money line. I was willing to go up to a minus 148 on that money line, so I mean, we are right at that 5 point right there at the minus 148 that I'm seeing, but I'm going to be in there. I just don't trust in Michael Lorenzen. Like, for Michael Lorenzen, the advanced numbers actually do point towards a little bit of positivity. 6.54 ERA, 45 fielding pen, 1.4 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings, in the neighborhood of about 7.5 to 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but when this guy's been at Coors, an 8.34 ERA with over 1.55 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And for Ian Seymour, I know that he doesn't necessarily have the world's greatest ERA, but he's been able to do a nice job in terms of getting a lot of swings and misses. A 4.37 ERA, but closer to a 4.02 fielding dependent, 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. He himself is giving up about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, it was a very shaky bullpen to begin the season, but they've been able to round into form. Garrett Clevenger back below a sub 350 ERA. They used up all their untrustworthy guys like Steven Matz, Craig Kimbrell, Chris Roycroft yesterday, so that means that you're going to have someone like a Brian Baker is going to be fully available in this game as well, so that helps out. Cam Boozer has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA, and then for the Tampa Bay Rays, you got Jonathan Aranda, Yandy Diaz, both give you above a 370 on base, 14 to 15 home runs apiece. Junior Caminero, 370 plus on base, 30 plus home runs, and then these mix and match guys like Brandon Williamson is hitting darn near 250. Chandler Simpson, he's giving you over 20 stolen bases, hitting darn near 300. Nick Fortes is now hitting at 275. Flip side for the Rockies, Hunter Goodman is a good man, over 30 home runs. He has been tremendous for this lineup, and I mean, they've been able to do a nice job moving the line. They don't necessarily have a ton of power outside of Goodman. You do have Mickey Moniak, who's been able to give you 16 plus home runs, but Jake McCarthy, it's about a 290. He's up to 11 home runs. Cole Carrig is hitting a hair above a 300. TJ Brownfield has been able to about a 295. Even someone like a Willie Castro doing a solid job with about a 335 on base. Rockies are just atrocious with their bullpen, and it's not going to get any better here at the trade deadline. These guys like Juan Mejia, Jaden Hill, Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Harrigan, all posting up over a 5 ERA. Jordan Romano's actually been okay thus far with the Rockies. I don't think that that's going to be a mainstay. Antonio Senzatella is starting to regress a little bit as well, so I do like the over. I set my total at an 11.7, and for the Rays, taking that money line, set it at a minus 149 personally, and that'll wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larry they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated, and then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like here on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day, give you picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you guys once again tomorrow. Thank you so much.